Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a Kickstarter preview. This is for Moonrakers from IV Studio. This is a space-themed deck builder that has a few things that I've never seen before in a deck builder, in that you're actually going to kind of cooperate with some of the other players at times.
Yeah, so each of you are representing a mercenary group, and you're going to be going out trying to fulfill different contracts. Most of these contracts, especially the harder ones, aren't going to be able to be completed by yourself, because at any given time you're typically only going to start with 5 cards in your hand, and a lot of these contracts are going to require a lot of different cards.
Yeah, so before we get to the game structure, let's talk a little bit about what we have here. We've got 2 main boards here, one that's going to house crew members and ship parts that are off to the side, as well as the credits, which is the money that you're going to be using to buy things. And over here, you've got the prestige track. We're all racing to 10 points at the top of this track. First person to get to 10 points is going to trigger the end of the game. And then we've got objectives here, and then these are all of the contracts that at any given time on your turn you can try to attempt.
Each player is going to start with 10 cards in their deck, and that's going to be labeled across the bottom of each of your player mats. These cards, we'll walk through them in just a moment. All of them have unique abilities, and of course there's the ability to get more cards inflected into your deck, either the starting basic ones or the crew members that we mentioned.
Yeah, the game is going to play a lot like a lot of other deck builders, but with some significant differences. There's 2 different things you can do on your turn. The main thing is going to be trying to attempt a contract. When you're the leader, which is basically the active player, you can either attempt a contract or you can defend the base. Before we get into attempting a contract, we'll talk a little bit about defending the base.
So to defend the base, you're going to go through 3 steps. The very first thing is you're going to collect 1 credit. The credits are used to do 2 basic things. 1, to buy ship parts to place into your ship. Your ship is going to hold 4 different ship parts, all of them having unique abilities that you can use during your turn. The second thing you could do is you could buy crew members. Now, once you're done collecting that credit, you then have the opportunity to draw 2 new objective cards and to choose one of them. Each player is going to start with an objective. These are things that you're trying to complete during the game, and they're going to give you some prestige. For instance, I have one here that says I get 1 prestige if I use 2 crew members to fulfill 1 contract.
Yeah, and these objectives are secret from all the other players. This is one of the ways you're going to be able to sort of sneak points, as it were, to try to get to 10 before anyone else.
The final thing that you can do during the defend the base action is to optionally discard any one of the contracts and replace it with a new one. This is going to be important as you go through the game, because there's some contracts that you're not going to be able to complete right at the start of the game.
Yes, and speaking of contracts, that is the other thing you can do on your turn. In fact, the main thing in the game. As the leader, you can, instead of defending the base, select one of these contracts. It's the first thing you're going to do. If you do that, you're going to choose one of these contracts to try to achieve. Now, you can achieve that on your own or with the help of anyone on the table. So as you're selecting, people around the table are free to say, hey, I may be able to help with this, or I am of no help whatsoever, or some of them may just not want to help you. But what you're looking to do on these contracts, right down here in the corner, it tells you what kind of cards you're going to need to play in order to achieve this contract. So if you don't have what you need, you're going to definitely need some help. So once you've selected a contract, you put it out onto the table for everyone to look at. Then you're going to look up in the upper right-hand corner. These are the rewards for achieving the contract. This is when you negotiate with everyone who's basically on the team for this contract to see who's going to get what. Some of the players might want too much, in which case, if you can't come to terms, this contract is going to go right back to the line, and you get, as the leader, another contract to try to do that exact same process with. Then, if that doesn't work out, you get a third one. Then you have to go on that mission alone or choose to defend the base.
Yeah, so let's speak about going into it solo, and we'll talk about how other players can contribute. If you go into one of these contracts, you're trying to fulfill it with the cards that you have in your hand. Now, if you go solo, you're going to roll a number of hazard dice equal to whatever is in the bottom right-hand corner of that contract. However, if multiple people are going on that particular contract, that's another thing that you're going to have to negotiate. Then you're going to roll the dice. On each of these dice, it's going to be 0, 1, or 2 hazards. Now, you just have to fulfill those hazards by the end of your turn, typically with shields blocking that damage. However, any damage that goes through is going to go directly to your prestige, meaning you're going to lose some victory points if you're not able to block it. All right, so let's talk about what you're actually doing on your turn to fulfill the contracts. You're going to be given one action and one action only to play as many cards as you want to play. Now, one action is just one card. However, you have the ability of using a reactor. At the start of the game, every player has 3 reactors in their deck. The reactor is the blue card, which is going to give you 2 more actions. So you want to string these along to be able to play more cards from your deck. All 4 of the basic cards are going to do very specific things. Your reactors provide more actions. Your thrusters are going to allow you to draw more cards. Your shields are going to block that damage from the hazard dice. And then your damage cards are actually going to be able to do damage to those cards. Each of them have their own requirements. Now, the trick is you need to have enough actions in your hand to play all the cards you need to play in order to fulfill that card. This is where the cooperative part comes into play, because you're only going to have 5 cards in your hand unless you can draw more and have more actions in order to play them. Typically, you're going to be relying on other players to help you fulfill that particular contract.
Yeah, and whether you're going alone or whether you're with a team, it's important to remember that these cards are going to serve dual purposes. As you play cards, they are all going to count towards achieving that contract. They are also going to do their effect. Like Jeremy said, the reactor is going to give you actions, you might get extra cards. The shields, most importantly, are going to be used as they're played, mostly just to fulfill defending against that damage. But as you can see on a number of these contracts, there are also a shield fulfillment that you have to get going.
A lot of the cards, too, that you're going to be able to acquire through the game are going to be your crew members. You don't start with any of these crew members here. However, they all are going to have special abilities that you can use. A lot of the contracts, especially as you get into that deck further, are going to have crew requirements. So as you can see, you're going to need to have other players contributing. If you're able to fulfill that contract, you then break up those rewards according to whatever was negotiated.
Yeah, so after those rewards are broken up across everyone on the team, then the leader, and only the leader, is able to buy some things. Jeremy just mentioned those crew members. That is one of the types of things you can buy, as well as the ship parts. You can buy as many of these as you have credits for, but money is pretty tight. You're starting with 2 credits, and depending on how you've divvied up the rewards from a contract, you may not have much more than that. We're going to look over here to this side of the board and choose from the 3 face-up crew members or the 6 ship parts. Now, there's a lot of objectives that you might have that also trigger off some of these things. You're going to place ship parts on your board. The crew members are actually going to go into your discard pile.
So when you look at a crew card, I'm looking at one here who is called Lee Van Crib. He's a scout. In order to purchase him, you have to have 2 credits. His ability is to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you're able to draw one of those, playing it for free without using an action. In addition to that, he also gives you a free action. So this is a really good card, and you're going to need to acquire some of these crew members in order to lengthen your turn.
Yeah, not only lengthen your turn, but you're going to be using those to achieve some of the contracts that come out. Now, the ship parts don't help you achieve the contracts directly, but a lot of them are going to have ongoing effects that do that exactly. In fact, right here I have the cloaking device. This allows me to roll 1 less hazard die. So when you acquire a ship part, and this one is 5 credits, so these are not terribly cheap, you're going to put that ship part on one of the 4 spaces on your board. If you already have 4 ship parts, you're going to simply replace it or not, but you can only have 4 ship parts total. This is also one that doesn't have a special icon up in the upper right-hand corner, but a lot of the ship parts are going to have an icon that suggests that you, at that very moment, also get to take a number of these different cards into your pile as well. So the ship cards are going to indirectly bring some cards into your deck some of the time.
And remember, you're going to break up those rewards by the money that you acquire or credits, any victory points or prestige that you acquire, plus some opportunities to get some special cards as well. Now, at the end of your turn, no matter whether you did a contract or you defended the base, all the cards that you have in your hand and used are going to go to the discard pile, and you're going to draw back up to 5 cards. And you're going to do this round after round until one of the players achieves 10 prestige.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that discard phase is that anyone on the team for that mission or contract has to do the same thing. Anyone who's gone on a contract is effectively taking a turn with their hand, so they're going to be washing all of those cards out of their hand and drawing a new hand of cards. This can play into when you do or do not want to offer your services to go on a mission.
So, super unique deck builder. It's called Moonrakers. It is a 1 to 5 player game. If you guys have any questions about the game, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and everything else that we do. And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.